The truth is, you should only be working 5 hours a day max. What is going on, everyone? My name is Kaya Davlar, and today I'm going over all the takeaways and lessons from the book The 5 Hour Workday by Stephan Aarstol. Just to give you guys a little background on the author, he is partners with Mark Cuban and he owns a paddleboard company. He was featured on Shark Tank and his company name is Tower. He has been one of the most successful people to go on Shark Tank. This book has a ton of different lessons and takeaways, so let's get into it. One of the first things he talks about when he gets into the book is that you need to remember that you're going to be dead soon. On page 13, he says, remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way to know, to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. I think that is super important and relatable because I think so many people live the lives based off what other people think. A lot of people tend not to follow their heart and follow what they want to do, trying to impress other people that they don't really care about and not living their best life and doing what would make them genuinely happy. And it kind of goes into the next takeaway. Everybody has a plan what to do next, but it's rarely theirs. It's a societal plan everyone is expected to follow. And it kind of goes like this. First step, go to high school. Graduate high school, then go to college. Finish college and get a job. He talks about the unnecessary rush to start working. That's one of my favorite points too, because there is such a big push for society to get into the workforce. And of course, it is good to work. It is good to make money and it feels good to make money. However, a lot of people are forced to work more and living less when it should be the opposite. You should be living your life, enjoying it, and having that happy balance in life. And if working makes you happy, then go for it by all means. It is really good to mix in the life experience outside of work. This next one is more so if you are running a business, but I still found it very interesting and potentially really helpful. Stop doing tasks you believe are essential. For example, shipping out items every day, answering phone calls every day. Now, his big point here is he spent so much time at the start of his business shipping out every day or answering phone calls every day, and he was spending hours on both of those every day, which took up so much unnecessary time. So what he did is he cut those out and stopped doing them every day and narrowed it down to only doing it once or twice a week. So he would only ship out on Mondays and he would only answer calls on Monday and Tuesdays or Tuesday and Wednesdays. And by doing that, it allowed him all this extra free time. And now he had all these hours back and was able to do more with that time. Another one of my personal favorites from this book is he says you can spin all bad experiences into good things. At the end of the day, you're going to survive, and all these bad experiences, they only add to the story. Think about all the hard things that you've gone through in life, and you're still here, right? You're watching this video today. You are quite literally living proof that this statement is true. You're able to look back at all the problems that you faced and say that you made it through that. And a lot of the problems, you can look back and grow from them. Like I said earlier, they just add to your story. That's what gives you character. It gives you something that people want to listen to. If it was just easy, your story would probably be super boring. So all those hard things you go through, be grateful because that's what makes you, you. Another takeaway he talked about is startups outperform major companies because they have less money, so they have to be more innovative. He goes on to talk about why this is. All these small companies have way less capital to invest and grow with compared to these big corporations. So they have to really think outside of the box to grow their business. They can't spend millions of dollars on advertising, so they have to find the workarounds. And by doing so, there's a ton of innovation, which you won't necessarily find in bigger companies. Now, I'm not saying that's not possible, and neither is he. He's just saying it is more likely to happen in these smaller companies because they have less capital to work with. Kind of going on to the main point of the book, he says working less, people will become more productive. Share the wealth in wages and time off. This comes back to the title of the book, The 5 Hour Workday, and he's saying that you should try this with your company. Only have your employees work 5 hours a day. We will talk about the benefits more later or maybe in another video, but one of the big things is by cutting that time from an 8-hour workday or 9-hour workday, whatever you're working, and making it a 5-hour workday, The employees are going to be so happy with that and be way more productive. But the thing is, if you're going to cut down the workday, keep paying them the same as if they were working a full day. Because if you're paying them hourly and reducing their hours so they actually end up making less money, you're not benefiting them at all. And if you reduce their hours but keep paying them the same, they're highly incentivized to keep working hard and be more productive because they're making the same amount of money while working less. So with that increased productivity, pay them for it. He argues that it will actually end up being very beneficial for you and the company culture. A secondary point to that he adds is that most workers are only accomplishing 2 to 3 hours of actual work in an 8-hour workday. I don't know what your experience is, but I've found that to be true too. Think about all the time you spend just talking to employees or just BSing and messing around. How much time do you actually spend really focusing on exactly what you're doing at work and getting that job done? I feel like every job I've had, yes, I worked hard and worked a lot, but there's also so much free time and so much time that goes into doing stuff that isn't necessarily necessary. Another point he brings up is that there is no incentive to be productive in most companies. For example, a company gets a brand new machine that can increase their productivity by 2x, and before, these people were able to make 10 units an hour, and now this company asks them to make 20 units an hour with the new machine. Because there's no incentive to do more than that, people are going to do the bare minimum and just do 20, even if the machine is capable of doing 30 or 40 units an hour. People will stop at the bare minimum because what's the incentive to do more? And say they're doing the max that the machine is capable of doing, and you have a review period, there's no room for growth at all. It makes a ton of sense to incentivize your employees for the work produced. That way you don't have people doing the bare minimum. And if you do, you can just fire them, cut them out. It's their loss anyways. One of the ways he talks about incentivizing his employees is adding a profit sharing model to the business. Now, I'm not going to go deep into that in today's video, but I will be making another video, and if that's done, it'll probably be right here or right here. But basically what he does is he takes 5% of his business's profits and puts them in a bonus pool. He gives the profits out to the employees based off their productivity, and he doesn't judge the productivity himself. He has all the employees judge each other on their productivity. Of course, he has the final say, but it helps him think about what everyone else thinks of each other. Another point that I thought was very interesting is he brings up the average salaries in different countries compared to hours worked weekly. And just to give you a few examples, I'm going to read you off some. In the US, the average person works 47 hours a week and makes 50K a year. Netherlands, 29 hours a week, 47K a year. Denmark, 33 hours a week, 46K a year. Norway, 33 hours a week, 44K a year. Ireland, 34 hours a week, 51K a year. Germany, 35 hours a week, 40K a year. Switzerland, 35 hours a week, 50K a year. Belgium, 35 hours a week, 44K a year. So in the US, the average person is working 47 hours a week and making $50,000 a year. Think about this. The average person in Ireland works 34 hours a week and makes $51,000. So they make $1,000 more on average than us and work 13 hours less than us. Think about how much happier you could be if you had 13 hours extra a week that you weren't working. 13 hours a week is insane. That's an extra couple hours a day with your kids, or spending time with your significant other, or going out with friends, doing things that you actually enjoy doing versus being at your workplace. And yeah, I know I used Ireland because they make more money than us, but even say you were losing a couple $1,000s a year, but you still gotta save like 5 hours a week, that adds up. All that extra time you could be using doing so much more things, and the couple $1,000s you're losing really isn't that much. I'm not gonna pull up the exact study right now, but he talks about this in the book. A company went from 5 8-hour shifts to 4 10-hour shifts, and the workers' productivity went up 9%. And workers reported being 70% happier with the new schedule. Think about that for a second. Not even working more weekly, just more for 4 days and giving you a whole extra day. That increased people's happiness by 70%, and their productivity went up by 9% just by giving them an extra day in their weekend. That is insane. As a business owner, that is instantly a way you can increase productivity and make your employees more happy with their workplace. Don't you want to do that? Another study he brings up, which is on page 107, I'm not gonna look it up in the book right now, but he talks about your brain can only work for 52 minutes before it needs a break. it needs a 17-minute break. I don't know exactly what it is, but he talks about how our brains aren't naturally wired to work for long periods of time. Like he said, it's wired to work for 52 minutes and then have that 17-minute break. I don't know why that is, but that's just how we are. And so it makes sense to work less and have more breaks instead of trying to work 8 hours in a row. It's just not possible. That's why he talks about if you decrease the daily working time, you can actually increase the productivity. Another great point he brings up is the most brilliant workers are actually working 24 hours a day for you. The reason this is they're always thinking and they're always solving problems in their head. I think about myself for an example. I work at a marketing agency, and even when I'm home or laying in bed or away from work, my brain is constantly thinking about what I could do to improve this or improve that, which in turn I can bring that to work and actually improve certain aspects because it's something I'm genuinely interested in, and so I'm always constantly thinking about it and how to improve and how to grow. He said the question for business owners shouldn't be how long your employees are working, but how much work did they actually get done. I love that point because think about how many people you know that are paid hourly that space out their work. They could get it done in 2 to 3 hours, but they space it out because they need the hours to get paid. Me personally, I know a ton of people that do that, and it's kind of just a natural thing people do, especially if you're not incentivized to do more. Another takeaway he talks about is that balance is super important in life. He talks about how taking vacations and traveling can help keep you motivated for work. It leaves you feeling refreshed and ready to get back at it. If you're at work 24/7 and never taking breaks, there's no way that can be good for your mental health. Just by taking that little break, that little vacation, think about how much better you would be mentally, or how much more you'd enjoy life. Think about all the good memories that come with vacations. There's so many good things that come out of traveling and taking vacations and enjoying that time off. Another takeaway I got from the book is he talks about time constraints and the benefits of using them. He talks about how useful they can be for hyper-productive people and how it can be used to develop new ways of thinking. These hyper-productive people are going to be thinking of all the ways they can get this job done in this limited time they have. They find new methods you might not have thought of before. They're not always going to be the best methods, but sometimes you will find that one that no one's thought of. And who knows, that could be the game changer in your business. I'll make a full video going over all the benefits of a 5-hour workday, but real quick, here are a few examples. Every day is like a vacation. If you start work at 8 o'clock and get off at 1, think about how much free time you have during the day. All the health benefits from lack of stress and being overworked. The relationship benefits from being able to spend more time with the people that you love. This increased personal happiness will also be shown in workplace happiness. The more happy people are outside of work, the more happy they'll be at work. It also has insane benefits for families. Imagine spending more time with your kiddos or your partner. This time could be spent creating so many more valuable memories. The next takeaway I got is create a company culture that makes it okay for your employees to leave. Because the best workers are gonna leave eventually. Either way, they're gonna go to a higher paying job or they're just gonna start their own thing, so you might as well encourage it. And by you supporting their dreams and their vision, they're most likely going to stay with you even longer. Think about how many companies that trap their employees into working for them. By letting them know that you want them to grow and eventually leave your company, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable and happy working for you. He talks about one of Simon Sinek's TED Talks, and here's the point he makes. The point is to focus on doing business with people who have the same values as you. That way you have a more genuine connection with your clients. If your clients have the same values and views as you, they're more likely to come back and be repetitive customers. But if someone doesn't align with your values and your goals and your views, they're not as likely to come back and do business with you. So focus more time on the people that you actually align with and target those people. It'll pay off tenfold. He brings up another great point about culture. And as you can see, culture is a repetitive thing in this book, and I think that's huge. He talks about how it is important to have a fun culture at work. For those watching, how many of you hate your job? Or how many of you genuinely think you have a fun time at work? Now, there may be some of you, but for most people, I don't think that's the case. He talks about throwing big parties and having big work trips. Personally, I've worked for a company that had parties and did trips, and that was the best company I've ever worked for. The culture was amazing and it made me never want to quit. By just adding those little parties or having little trips with your employees, everyone's gonna feel more so as a family versus just a coworker. That's the type of culture that you want in your business. especially if you want your best employees to stay a long time. Considering how much time people spend at work, you don't want work to actually feel like work. You want it to be a fun place to be at. If it's not enjoyable, so much of your time and your employees' time is gonna feel like it was just wasted doing something you heavily disliked. There's no benefit in that. Another key takeaway, which kind of has to do with culture, is he says the environment is everything, which that basically is the culture. I'll make another video talking about that as well, but I'll save that for another time. He talks about how experiences make people more happy than material objects do. He says experience become part of your identity, whereas he says objects can become part of your identity, but they'll still always remain separate. Because the truth is, an object can always be taken away. Your memories, they can't. And that's what makes them so much more valuable. And the very final takeaway he talks about is smart people spend money to save time. These are the people that pay others to do things for them. The richest people are out doing things with their family, spending time with those they love, or doing things that they really enjoy doing. And the things that they don't enjoy doing, they just pay someone else to do it. I understand most of you probably aren't in a financial position to do that, but if you ever get to that position, time is the most valuable thing in this life. The money will always come back. And so I would definitely recommend spending the money to save you time. That was all the lessons and takeaways I got from the 5 Hour Workday book. I'll make a few more videos going more in depth about some of the topics we talked about today, and I'll put those right here, somewhere whenever they're finished. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something. Till next time.